A thunderclap tore across the sky. The massive Boeing 747 shook like a toy tossed into a storm. Passengers screamed. The cabin lights flickered wildly, like the erratic heartbeat of a dying man. Then a trembling voice rang out over the intercom. "Attention all passengers. We have an emergency. Captain Harris has lost consciousness. I need a military pilot, someone with combat flight experience. Immediately." It was First Officer Ethan Carter, only 29, his voice cracking between the howl of the wind and the pounding rain slamming against the windows. It was the sound of fear, not just his own, but of 312 souls suspended in the fury of nature. In the economy cabin, a black woman stirred. Major Ariana Cole, 36 years old. She was used to sleeping through what others would call hell, the roar of gunfire, the emptiness of distant bases, or endless flights across hostile skies. But that voice, heavy with despair, crushed beneath responsibility, pierced her senses, pulling her from exhausted sleep. Ariana opened her eyes, the pale green glow of the cabin reflected in her calm, steady gaze. Around her, no one noticed. Everyone was consumed by their own fear. Children sobbed. Women clutched loved ones tight. Some men hammered at their phones, typing hurried goodbyes. The scene smelled of the end of the world. Up in first class, Gregory Stone, 48, a well-known investor, adjusted his imported gold-rimmed glasses. He chuckled dismissively, just loud enough for his wife beside him to hear. Absurd. As if some combat pilot would be stuck back in economy. It's just working folks heading home. His eyes slid past Ariana, as though she were invisible. In her worn shirt and plain jeans, natural curls tied back hastily, she looked like nothing more than an ordinary traveler. But that dismissal, that shallow judgment, was about to become Gregory Stone's most costly mistake. The 747 jolted violently again, a sudden pocket of turbulence that tilted passengers sideways, seatbelts creaking under the strain. Wind howled through the seams of the cabin like cries from an abyss. Ethan Carter's voice came back, breaking, desperate. "Please, I beg you, if anyone here has military flight training, please come to the cockpit. I have never faced a Category 5 storm alone. We are flying blind." Ariana froze for a moment, taking in the sea of panicked faces, the despair in their eyes. Not a single person thought to look at her. To them, she was just another passenger, a black woman with no conceivable role in answering that plea. It was a familiar sting, the injustice that had shadowed her career, underestimated, doubted, forced to prove herself twice over because of gender and skin. Yet that pain had never broken her. It had forged her, fueling a will of steel. Gregory suddenly shot to his feet, chest puffed, his voice booming. "Listen to me. My brother, in law, is a private pilot. I've flown with him dozens of times. I know what to do. Let me into that cockpit." A flight attendant rushed forward, trying to block him. "Sir, we need someone with military experience. A civilian pilot cannot handle these conditions." Gregory's face flushed with rage. "You dare question me? I paid $20,000 for this first-class seat. I have more experience than anyone else on this plane." His shouting only heightened the panic, voices rising around them. And then Ariana stood. No fanfare, no boasting. Just a quiet, deliberate rise. She walked with a calmness that cut through the chaos, her eyes scanning the passengers, firm yet reassuring, as if to say, "You are safe now. I'm here." Her stride was steady, unwavering, in stark contrast to the frantic, stumbling movements of those consumed by fear. At the cockpit door, she stopped. A flight attendant moved to block her. Ariana spoke, her voice even, not loud but carrying through the cabin with undeniable authority. "Major Ariana Cole, United States Air Force. 600 hours logged on the F-22 Raptor, specialist in extreme condition navigation." The world seemed to freeze. A baby's cries ceased. Whispering stopped. The entire cabin held its breath. Gregory gawked, mouth open, disbelief plastered across his face. Silence spread heavy and absolute, broken only by the roar of rain hammering the fuselage. Ariana stood there, dressed simply in jeans and a worn shirt. But her eyes, the eyes of a warrior who had stared death in the face, made everyone step back. In that moment, the truth was undeniable. The woman they had dismissed was their last and only hope. "She's joking, right?" Gregory Stone muttered, his voice laced with both mockery and panic. He glanced at his wife, desperate for agreement. But Victoria, long accustomed to her husband's arrogant outbursts, stayed silent, her eyes shimmering with fear. Ariana did not flinch. She stood tall, one hand resting lightly on a seat back, her gaze sharp as a blade. The young flight attendant hesitated for a moment, then almost instinctively nodded, sensing the authority hidden beneath Ariana's unassuming presence. Gregory shouted again, "Unbelievable! I will not put my life in the hands of a woman dressed like that. If you are truly a pilot, prove it. Do you have papers, credentials, anything at all? Or are you just talking?" The noise heightened the passengers' tension. An elderly woman's trembling voice rose. "Is it true she's flown a plane before? She looks far too young." Doubt spread like wildfire in the sealed cabin. Some passengers bowed their heads in prayer. Others stared at Ariana with eyes that teetered between hope and suspicion. Ariana drew a deep breath. Memories came rushing back in a flood. She remembered the first time she commanded a squadron in Afghanistan, when a white colonel flatly declared, "I will not entrust soldiers' lives to a black woman." She remembered the promotion she was denied, despite having the strongest flight record. She remembered the whispers, "Probably just diversity points, otherwise she wouldn't be here." These wounds had never fully healed, but Ariana had turned them into weapons. Every insult, every dismissive look had become fuel for her to fly higher, further. She stepped forward, her voice rising strong and precise. "Emergency depressurization at cruising altitude. Oxygen masks immediately. Emergency descent to 10,000 feet. Descent angle not to exceed 15 degrees to avoid fuselage stress. Contact ATC with squawk code 7700. She continued, reciting procedures for engine loss, cockpit fire, navigation failure under combat conditions. Each word was a razor, slicing through the thick web of doubt. Silence fell, heavy and consuming. Only the pounding rain and howling wind filled the void. First Officer Ethan Carter appeared at the cockpit door. His face was pale, sweat streaming, but in his eyes flickered a fragile hope. "Ma'am," Ethan stammered, his voice shaking, But something had changed. It was no longer panic, but respect. "This cabin, it's yours." Gregory's eyes bulged. "What? You're ready to hand over the plane to her just because she recited a few lines off Wikipedia? I demand proof, papers, badges, something military." Ariana turned to him. Her eyes were calm, but within them lay a cold force so powerful it made passengers shiver. "Mr. Stone," she said slowly, each word dropping with the weight of iron, "there are 3 kinds of pilots in this world. Those who fly when skies are clear, those who fly when storms close in, and those who fly when everyone says it is impossible." Gregory faltered, still clawing for ground. "Empty words. I've flown private jets across Europe. Over 200 hours of experience as a passenger. I know the procedures." Ariana did not answer him. Instead, she leaned slightly, her eyes locked on the terrified Xiao pilot. Her voice softened, but every syllable rang like an order. "Current altitude, speed, crosswind conditions?" Ethan answered without thinking. 38,000 feet, speed 450 knots, crosswind 120 kilometers an hour, gusting to 160. "Thank you," Ariana nodded. She turned back to Gregory, her gaze like the edge of a sword. "You can read numbers, but you don't understand what they mean. I have flown combat jets through war zones with 2 engines dead, navigation destroyed, and missiles locked on my tail. And I still brought every pilot home." The aircraft jolted violently again. A sharp bang echoed from somewhere in the wing, drawing screams from passengers. Yet Ariana stood firm, her body unshaken, as if she herself were the axis keeping the giant machine balanced. Her voice dropped, but the gravity made every passenger hear it clearly. "What qualifies me to fly this plane is not medals, not documents, but this truth. I am the only one here who has flown through hell and lived." Silence swept the cabin. Passengers now looked at Ariana differently, not with doubt, but with awe, tinged with reverence. Ariana strode toward the cockpit. Passing Gregory, she paused just for a moment. "And when we land, you will have time to reflect on how the black woman in jeans you scorned is the one who saved your life and your family's." Gregory was struck dumb, her words piercing through his armor of arrogance, leaving a wound that would never heal. The cockpit door swung open, dim light spilling out. Ariana disappeared inside, leaving behind a cabin so silent it throbbed, and for the first time since the storm began, many passengers felt they had just witnessed more than an emergency. They had witnessed the rise of a hero. The cockpit door closed behind Ariana Cole, shutting her off from the anxious whispers of more than 300 passengers. Inside, the chaos was no less overwhelming. Captain Harris lay slumped in his seat, his body convulsing violently, white foam spilling from his lips. Medical alarms blared in shrill tones. Red warning lights flashed across the instrument panel, pulsing like streaks of blood in the darkness. First Officer Ethan Carter sat frozen, his hands trembling on the yoke. His face was pale, his eyes vacant, as though he had lost his way on a path where life itself hung in the balance. Ariana strode forward. Her voice rang out, deep and sharp, cutting through the storm's roar and the engine's growl. "Ethan, I need you to focus. First, keep the plane steady. I'll take care of the captain." Without wasting a second, she unbuckled Harris, checked his pulse, pupils, and breathing, His heartbeat was erratic, showing signs of impending cardiac failure. She pressed firmly against his chest, rhythmic and precise. The movements were so practiced that Ethan gasped. "Ma'am, how do you know emergency medical care like this?" 10 years flying rescue missions in combat zones, Ariana replied, her hands never pausing. When you're the only one standing between a comrade and death, you learn fast. After a few compressions, the seizures subsided. Harris remained unconscious but was momentarily stable. Ariana secured his harness, then whipped around to Ethan. "Report. Fuel levels, cabin pressure, wing integrity." Ethan swallowed hard, forcing his voice steady despite the tremor. "Fuel, 62%. Cabin pressure holding at 8,000 feet simulated. But the crosswinds are too strong. I've never faced a Category 5 storm alone." Ariana gripped his shoulder, forcing his eyes to meet hers. "Listen to me. You're not alone anymore. I am commanding this flight now, and we will bring everyone down safely." In that moment, a faint light pierced through Ethan's fear. Ariana's presence felt like an invisible shield, holding back the abyss yawning before him. Then her voice filled the intercom, clear, resolute, unshakable. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Colonel Ariana Cole. I am assuming command of this aircraft until we land. Please remain calm and follow the crew's instructions." A wave of silence swept across the cabin. All whispers died. Even Gregory Stone, who had been shouting in protest minutes earlier, felt a chill run down his spine, not from the storm, but from the undeniable authority in her voice. Ethan glanced at Ariana and nodded. For the first time since the crisis began, he believed they still had a chance. But Gregory was not finished. He had persuaded a flight attendant to crack open the auxiliary door, barging into the cockpit with bloodshot eyes, his voice hissing with fury. "This is madness! What is she doing? Gambling our lives on an imposter!" Ariana didn't turn. Her hands moved across the controls, recalculating trajectory, adjusting pitch. Her tone was calm, the voice of someone too familiar with being questioned. "Mr. Stone, this is not a sightseeing trip. Return to your seat." Gregory's face flushed. His voice rose in a desperate roar. "I've logged hundreds of hours on private jets. I know aviation safety. What you're doing is mass suicide." Then another voice rose, gentle yet commanding. "That's enough, Mr. Stone." Ariana and Ethan turned. Standing at the door was an Asian woman, composed, her eyes sharp with clarity. "I am Dr. Helena Park, Chief of Neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins. I served 3 years in military medicine, treating pilots with neurological trauma. Let me tend to the captain, and I strongly suggest you trust this woman." Gregory froze. Helena's certainty extinguished his tirade. Ariana gave a brief nod, her eyes softening in recognition. No further words were needed. 2 women, 1 pilot, 1 doctor, recognized each other as comrades in this battle for life. "Dr. Park, an honor to work with you. Monitor the captain. I'll focus on the flight." Helena swiftly stabilized medical equipment, while Ariana returned to her calculations. Outside, the storm raged, lightning tearing open the night sky, illuminating Ariana's calm face. Inside, passengers held their breath. Some began to feel ashamed of their earlier doubts. Yet Gregory, cornered, still clung to defiance. His voice came strained, weaker but stubborn. "No, I will never put my life in the hands of someone like her. Ariana turned at last, her eyes locking onto his. They were still and deep as the ocean, but sharp enough to cut steel. Mr. Stone, you can keep doubting me, but remember this. While you waste time denying me, I am using every second to save you and everyone else on Sentinel. Gregory faltered. Her words were not shouted in anger, but delivered with cold truth, undeniable and final. Ariana turned back to the instrument panel, her gaze fixed on the storm ahead. Ethan, we need a new flight path. I will not go around this storm. We are going through the eye. Ethan's jaw dropped, ready to protest. But looking at her steadfast face, he remembered her words. I once brought my squadron home when everyone said it was impossible. Perhaps this was the only way. A flash of lightning lit up the window, illuminating Ariana Cole's face. Not a single feature trembled. Her eyes shone like two lighthouses in the raging night sea. Ethan Carter, the 29th-year-old first officer, swallowed hard. He had never heard of a decision so reckless. Colonel, through the eye of the storm? That goes against every aviation safety protocol. A Boeing 747 was never designed for that. We'll be torn apart. Ariana tilted her head slightly, lips curving in a faint edge, her gaze sharp as steel. Safety protocols are written for those who only fly when the skies are clear. But right now, Ethan, we are in hell. And in hell, only experience saves lives. Gregory Stone stood nearby and let out a bitter laugh. His voice dripped with scorn. Hear that? She admitted it. She's about to throw us all to our deaths, just to prove herself. Ethan turned to Ariana, desperate for an answer. She didn't shout, nor did she justify. She simply spoke, her voice low yet unwavering, as though carving each word into the suffocating air. Afghanistan, 2018. My aircraft was hit by a surface-to-air missile. 2 engines down, navigation destroyed. Sandstorm swallowing the sky. The manual said to eject, abandon the 17 wounded soldiers on board. Do you know what I did, Ethan? He shook his head, heart pounding. I threw the manual away, and I brought all 17 of them home. The cockpit froze. The rain hammered against the fuselage like a war drum, yet no one dared interrupt. Even Gregory fell silent, though his eyes clung desperately to doubt. Ariana pressed on, her voice softening, aimed directly at Ethan. Sometimes, following the rules means certain death. Knowing the rules and breaking them at the right moment, that is what makes a pilot different. Ethan felt his chest expand, as though a fresh current of air had rushed into his lungs. The fear lingered, but a flicker of belief was ignited. Ariana turned swiftly back to the panel, her hands gliding with precision as she scribbled complex calculations onto a scrap of paper. Angle of attack, descent rate, drag coefficients, crosswind velocity. The numbers lined up like soldiers ready for battle. Ethan almost gasped. This is a spiral descent trajectory. But it's never been applied to a commercial jet. Ariana nodded, eyes fixed on the radar screen. Correct. But it's the only door into the storm's eye, where the air is calmer. If we succeed, we'll descend to a safe altitude. If we fail, She paused, but there was no need to finish. Everyone in the cockpit understood the cost. Helena Park, the neurosurgeon, was monitoring Captain Harris. She raised her head, her voice calm but edged with urgency. "Colonel, he can hold for 15 minutes. After that, his heart won't last. We have no other choice." Ariana gave a small nod, her eyes flashing with resolve. "Then we land in 15 minutes. In the cabin, whispers rose like waves. A flight attendant had just announced, "A military pilot will take the aircraft through the eye of the storm." Passengers held their breath, faces pale. Some screamed in protest. Others, strangely enough, clasped hands together, clinging to a fragile hope. Gregory wasn't done. He barged into the cockpit again, his voice hoarse with desperation. "This is madness. I demand the right to speak with air traffic control. They need to hear me, not let her gamble our lives like this." Ariana didn't look back. Her voice was cold, detached. "Mr. Stone, this isn't a boardroom. You don't get a veto here." Gregory's face burned red, his eyes sparking with fury. But before he could say another word, a click echoed through the cabin. The radio had come alive. Ariana's voice rang clear. "Request open channel 121.5, military emergency frequency." Ethan hesitated, then complied. A response came almost instantly, urgent and commanding. "Spectre, is that you? This is Commander Rodriguez from Andrews Base. We lost all contact with you 20 minutes ago." Ethan froze. Helena's head snapped up. Gregory went pale, his lips trembling. "Spectre." The call sign was no stranger in military circles. It belonged to a legendary pilot, one whose missions were so daring that even history books could not keep pace. And the woman he had dismissed moments earlier was her. Ariana answered crisply, her voice solid as steel. "Confirmed. This is Spectre. We have a dual emergency. Captain unconscious. Civilian jet caught in Category 5 storm. Request emergency landing guidance." Silence held the line for a heartbeat. Then Rodriguez's voice returned, shaken with awe. "Spectre, you have absolute priority. Eastern airspace has been cleared for you. Baltimore is standing by for medical emergency. Dover Air Force Base has a runway prepped for immediate landing." The cockpit went still. Ethan's breath quickened. Helena allowed herself a faint, relieved smile. Gregory collapsed into a seat, as if the entire world had just slapped his arrogance away. Ariana's voice remained calm, unwavering. "Thank you, Commander. We will choose Dover. I will execute a spiral descent through the eye." There was a pause. Then Rodriguez spoke again, his voice heavy with both fear and respect. "Spectre, if it were anyone else, I'd call it suicide. But if it's you, Godspeed." Ariana pressed her lips together, tapping her fingers lightly against the panel. Her eyes glowed with absolute focus. In that moment, Ethan realized they didn't just have a chance at survival. They were sitting beside one of the greatest pilots their nation had ever known. Outside, the storm howled like a colossal beast. Thunder tore the sky, carving jagged streaks of light into the wall of black clouds. The massive Boeing 747 shuddered, metal plates groaning as if they were about to splinter apart. Inside the cabin, passengers clutched their armrests, cries and prayers filling the air. In the cockpit, Ariana Cole kept her steady hands on the controls, her eyes locked on the radar screen. Every flash of lightning reflected in her gaze like twin blades igniting. "Ethan, report current wind speed. 165 kilometers per hour and climbing. Cabin pressure is plummeting. If we hold altitude, the fuselage will—" "We're not holding," Ariana cut him off, her voice deep and unyielding. "We're descending, but not the conventional way." She drew in a breath, then declared her decision. "Initiating spiral descent, 4,000 feet per minute." Ethan froze. 4,000? A Boeing 747 has never— "Ethan." Ariana turned, her tone sharp as steel. "Do you want to die in the storm, or try to live the way I once did on the battlefield?" A heavy silence fell. Then Ethan nodded, trembling but resolute. "Understood, Colonel." Gregory Stone slumped into the jump seat, face ashen. His voice came out high, pitched, stripped of arrogance. "Insanity! This is insanity! This plane will explode!" Helena Park snapped at him, her tone cutting. "Mr. Stone, be quiet. If you don't want to trust Colonel Cole, then at least let her focus on saving us." Gregory opened his mouth to protest, but shut it tightly. For the first time in years, true fear flickered in his eyes. Ariana tapped the panel lightly, initiating the sequence. She murmured, not for others, but as if reminding herself. 30-degree bank, 4,000 feet per minute. Maintain lift balance. Nose aligned with crosswinds. The giant 747 tilted into its descent. The cabin lurched violently, screams erupting. Cups shattered. Luggage tumbled from overhead bins, striking seats. A child shrieked, "We're falling!" Ariana gripped the yoke tighter, her shoulders rigid. The storm pounded the fuselage like sledgehammers, yet her hands did not tremble. "Ethan, track vertical speed. I need exact readings every 30 seconds. "Yes, ma'am. 3,800 feet per minute. Stable, but EEC forces are spiking. Cabin pressure is shaking violently." Helena raised her voice, tense. "Colonel, if G-force increases any more, Captain Harris's heart won't hold." "Keep him breathing, Doctor. I'll keep this aircraft alive." A bolt of lightning struck the left wing. The cabin blazed white, the deafening crack like a bomb detonating. The plane bucked savagely. Passengers screamed in terror. Gregory shrieked, clinging to the armrest. "God, I told you, we're going to explode!" Ariana did not blink. She adjusted swiftly, muttering steady counts as she balanced the controls. Slowly, the plane stabilized again, still locked in the spiral descent. "Ethan, vertical speed. 4,050. Holding." "I can't believe this." Ariana pressed her lips together, determination sparking in her eyes. She was doing what every manual called impossible. In the cabin, a subtle shift began. From sheer panic and despair, many eyes turned toward the cockpit, where a black woman in plain clothes held the fate of 300 lives steady. The whispers changed, no longer curses, but prayers for her. Ethan glanced at Ariana, unable to stop himself from asking, "Colonel, how did you know this stable air pocket even exists?" Ariana allowed herself the faintest smile, the first since the storm began. 10 years flying in the Middle East. I learned to see storms not in 2 dimensions, but 3. Not every pilot can visualize the wind map inside their mind. Ethan stared in awe. In that moment, he understood. She was not just a pilot. She was a living legend. A voice crackled over the radio through static. "Spectre, this is General Patricia Hayes at the Pentagon. We are tracking your trajectory. Unbelievable. You're flying a 747 like a fighter jet." "Confirmed," Ariana replied curtly. "I need updates on landing conditions at Dover." "Spectre, the main runway is foamed. Full medical team on standby. Airspace completely cleared. You have absolute priority." The cockpit vibrated, not from turbulence, but from the weight of those words. Ethan's breathing quickened. Helena allowed herself a relieved smile. Gregory sat trembling, whispering under his breath, unsure if anyone could hear. "God, I was wrong. So terribly wrong." Ariana did not turn. She didn't need apologies. The only thing she cared about was a single objective: to drive this 747 through the heart of the monster storm, to land it, and to save the 312 lives entrusted to her hands. She tightened her grip on the controls, her voice hissing through clenched teeth, as if commanding the storm itself. "Down we go, we're punching through the eye." The roar of the engines thundered through the aircraft's body, like the cry of a steel beast trapped in the storm. The massive Boeing 747 spiraled downward on an unorthodox trajectory, banking 30 degrees, then looping again, every second daring the limits of physics. In the cabin, people sobbed, clutched one another, and whispered prayers. Others sat frozen in silence, faces pale, hearts pounding wildly. Everyone felt their bodies pinned to their seats by the surge of G-force. In the cockpit, Ariana Cole's eyes were locked on the radar. Sweat beaded on her temple, but her hands never faltered on the controls. Beside her, Ethan Carter reported constantly, his voice shaky but slowly regaining rhythm. Altitude 30, 2,000 feet. Descent rate 4,100. Stable. But crosswinds are spiking at 180 kilometers per hour. "Hold the numbers. Don't take your eyes off the radar," Ariana replied, her voice steady, anchoring the cockpit against chaos. A small explosion rattled from the right wing. Red lights blazed across the panel. Engine 3. Flame out. Ethan shouted, panic cracking his voice. "Engine 3 is out," Gregory Stone shrieked from the rear seat. "I told you, she's killing us all." But Ariana remained calm. Her fingers pressed the sequence, reigniting the system. Her voice was firm. "A 747 is designed to fly on 3 engines. This is not the end. Focus!" The aircraft shuddered violently, then steadied once more. Ethan looked at her, awe mingling with fear. How can you stay this calm?" Ariana never lifted her eyes from the instruments. "Because I've faced death too many times, and every time I survived, I remembered one truth. Panic saves no one." In the cabin, panic began to subside, oddly replaced by a fragile sense of faith. Passengers felt the control radiating from the cockpit, from the woman they had doubted. The whispers shifted into desperate hope. "She'll do it. She has to do it." At that moment, the radio crackled through static. "Spectre, this is General Hayes at the Pentagon. We are monitoring your spiral descent. On our radar, it's impossible. How are you maintaining stability while dropping more than 4,000 feet per minute?" Ariana's lips curved faintly, her voice low and steady. "Applied physics. I'm turning the vortex into leverage, using the airflow to hold the body steady." 17 years through war taught me this. Even storms have rhythm. Listen closely enough, and you'll find the path. Silence fell over Hayes and those in the cockpit. Ethan turned, whispering almost to himself. My God, you're not just a pilot. You're a legend. A brutal jolt slammed the aircraft. Oxygen masks dropped, dangling in the chaos. Passengers screamed. The jet felt like a giant hand had seized it, dragging it toward the abyss. Gregory wailed, clinging to the armrest, eyes wide with terror. We're dead. We're finished. Ariana's grip tightened, muscles taut as steel cables. Her voice hissed through clenched teeth. No. We pass through death's door to live. She angled the nose, sinking the aircraft with the vortex. The 747 trembled like a caged beast, then steadied, as if the giant bird had found its own current. The radar blinked. Altitude 20,000 feet. Ethan shouted, We're at 20,000. We've cleared the upper storm layer. Applause erupted in the cabin, spontaneous and raw, mingled with sobs of relief. They were not yet safe, but for the first time, passengers glimpsed light within the darkness. Helena Park raised her head from where she monitored Captain Harris, her voice strong. Colonel Cole, the captain is still stable. If we descend within 10 minutes, he has a chance to live. Then 10 minutes it is, Ariana replied, her eyes blazing. 10 minutes to prove that no prejudice is stronger than the will to survive. Gregory sat in silence, sweat streaming down his face. He looked at Ariana, lips trembling but unable to speak. For the first time in his life, his pride and wealth felt small, meaningless. The radio came alive again, this time with the urgent voice of Commander Rodriguez. Spectre, all airspace is cleared. Dover reports ready, runway foamed, ambulances on standby. The whole world is watching you. Ariana pressed her lips together. She knew this landing would decide more than the lives of 312 souls. It would etch a lesson that could never be erased. Never underestimate someone simply because they don't fit your assumptions. She pulled back hard on the yoke, forcing another 5,000 feet of descent. The storm howled in defiance, its final roar like a beast cornered. But Ariana, eyes blazing, whispered, No one takes my life or theirs. Not today. The massive Boeing 747 pierced through dense clouds, plunging toward 20,000 feet. Outside, lightning slashed across the sky, blinding white tearing through walls of black cloud. But this time, instead of being battered helplessly, the iron bird seemed to be steered by a true master. Ariana Cole gripped the yoke, her eyes blazing in the flashes of light. Ethan, engine status? Ethan's voice was tight as wire, eyes locked on the instruments. Engines 1, 2, and 4 holding steady. Engine 3 still offline. Total thrust down 25%. It's fine, Ariana replied firmly. 3 engines are enough, as long as we stay on trajectory. Behind her, Gregory Stone buried his face in his hands, sweat streaming. His voice trembled, stripped of arrogance. We're going to crash. We'll never land. Helena Park, calm even now, looked up from where she monitored Captain Harris. Colonel Cole, his heartbeat is weakening. We need to be on the ground in 8 minutes, or it will be too late. Ariana nodded, eyes flashing with resolve. Dover, runway 2. The radio crackled with the urgent voice of General Hayes, steady, but weighted with trust. Spectre, Dover has foamed the runway. Ambulances and emergency crews are standing by, but crosswinds are sweeping at 140 kilometers per hour. It's an impossible landing condition. Impossible for others, Ariana replied, her voice cool as still water. For me, it's just math. Ethan whipped his head toward her, face pale. Colonel, you're going to attempt a landing in these crosswinds. A 747 can't handle that drift. Ariana's lips curved in a thin, blade-like smile. Ethan, do you know why they call me Spectre? Because I once landed a 70-ton transport on a sand strip under 800 meters long, while artillery shells fell. Compared to that, Dover tonight is just advanced practice. A heavy silence filled the cockpit. Ethan looked at Ariana, and for the first time, fear was replaced by absolute respect. The plane shook violently as it descended further. Radar read, altitude 12,000 feet. Cabin pressure steady, but gusts pounded the airframe, tossing the 747 like a toy. Passengers screamed, yet many now believed in the unseen hands guiding their lives. Gregory lifted his head, eyes fixed on Ariana. For the first time, a bitter admission flickered in his gaze. His voice cracked. My God, I was wrong about you. Ariana didn't turn. She didn't need apologies. The only thing that mattered was the ground rushing closer, and 312 souls balanced on her every move. Ethan, prepare for final approach. I want speed at 160 knots, nose crabbed 12 degrees into the wind. Roger, Ethan shouted, hands flying across the controls. A savage jolt ripped through the plane. Warnings blared. Stall warning. Gregory shrieked, We've lost lift. We're going down. Ariana pulled hard on the yoke, her voice a roar. No one is going down. Hold her steady. She slammed the remaining engines to full power, adjusted the wing angle. The giant aircraft shuddered on the brink of collapse, then slowly steadied. The warning cut off. From the cabin came hesitant clapping, then swelling cheers, hope flooding the darkness. For the first time, they believed a miracle might happen. The radio burst alive again, Commander Rodriguez at Andrews speaking fast. Spectre, all of America is watching. Your radar feed is broadcasting live to the Pentagon. If anyone else attempted this, I'd call it madness. But with you, I call it history. Ariana didn't answer. Her eyes locked ahead. The final clouds tore open, revealing Dover Air Force Base, its runway glowing gold like a silver serpent stretched across the night. Ethan's voice cracked. My God, I see the runway. Ariana drew a deep breath, her voice ringing like a bell of destiny. All right, begin final approach. This is the moment of truth. The plane banked, angling for descent. Crosswind slammed hard, warning lights flashing red again. Ethan shouted, gripping the controls. Crosswind's too strong. We're off alignment, Ariana whispered, as if speaking to the storm itself. No, not today. No one dies today. She adjusted the nose, steadying the giant bird with hands of steel that had once carried comrades out of death's grip. The engines screamed, the fuselage tilted. Passengers held their breath. The world was watching, and the final moment had come. The runway at Dover Air Force Base blazed in the night, covered in firefighting foam, signal lights flashing like arrows pointing the way. But the crosswinds still howled with fury, slamming against the massive Boeing 747, tilting hard to one side, as if trying to rip it off course. Inside the cabin, passengers held their breath. There were no more screams, no more frantic prayers. Only silence, wide eyes, and pounding hearts. In this moment, they knew they would either live or all would be reduced to ashes. In the cockpit, Ariana Cole squinted, eyes locked on the glowing runway ahead. Her voice dropped, firm as steel. "Ethan, hold speed at 150.5 knots. Flaps down 30 degrees. I'm executing a crosswind landing." Ethan's voice cracked. "Colonel, you mean a crabbed landing? With the 747, if you miss the angle by even a fraction, we'll flip." Ariana didn't look at him, only murmured, just loud enough for him to hear. "Trust me, Ethan. When the sky says impossible, that's when I prove the opposite." Gregory Stone trembled in his seat behind them. The arrogance that once cloaked him had vanished, leaving only bitter regret. His voice cracked like a child's. "Dear God, if we survive, I'll never look down on anyone again." The 747 plunged lower, shaking violently. The warning system screamed in their ears. "Wind shear! Wind shear!" Helena Park shouted, "The gusts are too strong! We can't stabilize!" But Ariana paid no mind. Her hands clamped the controls like iron, every movement precise to the millimeter. She angled the nose 12 degrees into the wind, guiding the landing gear to touch down in the daring crab maneuver only the most seasoned pilots would dare attempt. Radar flashed. Altitude 800 feet. Ethan cried out, "Prepare for touchdown!" Ariana's voice lowered, almost a whisper to the aircraft itself. "Come on, Iron Bird. Trust me one more time." The nose gear slammed onto the runway with a brutal bounce, then lifted again. Passengers screamed, but Ariana never lost control. She twisted the rudder hard, aligning the fuselage with the runway. The rear wheels screeched in protest, smoke billowing thick and white. The grinding of rubber against asphalt roared like death itself. "Reverse thrust! Balance the power!" Ariana commanded, her voice ringing clear. Ethan obeyed, sweat soaking his brow. Engines roared in reverse, dragging the giant machine to slow. Time stretched into eternity. Passengers held their breath, chests ready to explode. Gregory squeezed his eyes shut, whispering endlessly, "Please, please don't." Then a long screech, a final jolt. The plane rocked once, then stopped dead center on the runway, cloaked in clouds of white smoke. Silence. Absolute silence. For a few seconds, no one could believe it. Then the cabin erupted, a tidal wave of cheers and sobs. People screamed, embraced one another, clapped until their hands ached. Children clung to their parents. Parents kissed their children's foreheads. They had survived. Ethan released the yoke, his whole body trembling, eyes brimming with tears. He turned to Ariana, voice breaking. We did it." Helena collapsed into her seat, exhaling deeply. her eyes glowing with reverent admiration. "Colonel Cole, you just redefined the word miracle." Gregory opened his eyes, looked around, then at Ariana. The arrogance was gone, replaced by raw shame. He wanted to speak, to apologize, but his throat locked tight. The radio crackled with General Hayes's voice, thick with emotion. "Spectre, you just executed a landing the entire aviation world calls impossible. All of us, we salute you." Ariana sat tall, hands still poised on the controls, steady as ever, despite wrestling death itself. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a long breath. In that instant, her face was not just that of a pilot, but a symbol of strength and dignity. In the cabin, applause thundered, rising and rising, refusing to stop. Those who once doubted, who once scorned, now stood together shouting, "Thank you! Thank you!" Ethan looked at Ariana, voice soft but unshakable. "Colonel, you didn't just save us. You saved humanity's faith in miracles." Ariana opened her eyes, her gaze sharp yet gentle, sweeping past the window where Dover's lights gleamed bright against the dark. She didn't speak, only smiled faintly, because she knew this was not a personal victory. This was proof of a truth. Never judge a human being by appearances alone. Dover Air Force Base blazed with light. Ambulances, firefighters, and medical teams surged forward like a tidal wave. The emergency exits burst open, and passengers streamed onto the runway, many still trembling, their legs weak after the near-death landing. They gulped down the damp night air, feeling as though they had been reborn. An elderly woman knelt on the concrete, hands clasped in prayer. A little boy clung to his mother and pointed toward the cockpit. "Mom, she's a real superhero." In the cockpit, Ariana Cole removed her headset and unfastened her harness. Her hands still carried the acrid scent of scorched metal, but her eyes glowed with calm triumph. Outside, the headlights of dozens of emergency vehicles illuminated her face, like the coronation of a champion. First Officer Ethan Carter turned to her, eyes red with tears. "Colonel, you've just taught me a lesson I'll never forget. I thought I was a pilot, but today I learned what it means to witness a legend." Helena Park gripped Ariana's hand tightly, her voice trembling with emotion. "You didn't just save 312 lives. You proved that true courage knows no gender, no color. You just rewrote history." Gregory Stone stood frozen at the door, his face ashen. His designer suit was drenched in sweat, his polished shoes smeared with firefighting foam. His eyes revealed complete collapse. He staggered toward Ariana, his voice hoarse. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I looked down on you and nearly paid with my family's lives." Ariana studied him briefly. Her eyes held no hatred, only an icy calm. "Mr. Stone, your apology doesn't change a thing. Your survival today is not because of regret, but because I refused to quit when you denied me." Gregory lowered his head. For the first time in his life, a man accustomed to giving orders and sitting high had to face the bitter truth. He had been utterly wrong, down to his core. 6 months later, a solemn ceremony took place at the Pentagon. Ariana Cole stood on the dais in full uniform, lights shining down upon her. The Secretary of Defense read aloud. On that day, Colonel Cole not only saved hundreds of lives, she changed how we judge capability, breaking through prejudices rooted for decades. Today, we proudly confer upon her the rank of Brigadier General, the youngest in the history of the United States Air Force. Applause thundered through the hall. Ethan Carter, now a captain in his own right, sat in the audience, his eyes glistening. Helena Park was there too, alongside a team of military doctors. Together they witnessed Ariana ascending to a new height, not only in her career but in history itself. On the streets, Ariana's image in uniform appeared on giant billboards. A simple yet resounding slogan read, "Leadership has no color. Leadership is courage." And Gregory Stone, his empire collapsed faster than the storm that night. The video of him mocking Ariana in the cabin, filmed by passengers, went viral with over 60 million views in just weeks. Outrage exploded. Clients pulled their investments. Major contracts were cancelled. Within 3 months, Stone and Partners Investment Group had lost 80% of its value and declared bankruptcy. Worse, his family disintegrated. His wife Victoria filed for divorce, winning full custody of their children. In court, she spoke only one cold sentence. I lived 15 years with a man who confused privilege with competence. That is not the husband I thought I married. Gregory was forced to sell his home and his cars. He became a salesman at a used car dealership. Every morning, riding the subway to work, he passed a billboard of Ariana Cole with the words, "Never underestimate someone just because they don't look like you." Each time he saw it, his chest tightened, a constant reminder of the mistake that had reduced his life to ruins. During a lecture at the Air Force Academy, Ariana was asked by a cadet, "General Cole, how do we confront prejudice? When people doubt our ability, when they dismiss us because of how we look?" Ariana smiled faintly, her voice carrying through the hushed auditorium. Let them doubt. While they waste time denying you, use that time to hone your skills, to prove yourself through results. One day, your ability will make their silence louder than any argument you could ever make. The hall erupted in applause. Young faces shone, ignited with belief. Ariana Cole had not only landed a plane through the storm, she had landed a new era, one where capability triumphed over prejudice, where those once underestimated became the ones who wrote history. 3 years after that fateful day, the world had changed. The name Ariana Cole was no longer tied only to an impossible landing. It had become a symbol of unyielding will and the power to shatter every prejudice. Her memoir, Flying Through the Storms, became a global bestseller, with all profits funding aviation scholarships for young women and people of color. Military academies added Spectre's spiral technique into their curriculum. A new generation grew up looking to Ariana as proof that true ability never needs permission to shine. And Gregory Stone? He was now only a shadow. From an arrogant businessman, he had become a salesman at a used car dealership in the suburbs. Each day he wore a faded blue uniform, dragged a cheap suitcase, and squeezed into crowded commuter trains. Every morning, he passed a towering billboard of Ariana in uniform. Beneath the words, "Leadership has no color. Leadership is courage." Each glance twisted his heart. He had lost everything, his company, his reputation, his family, and above all, the pride that once held his head high. One stormy afternoon at New York Airport, Gregory, in his worn uniform, rushed through the terminal with a broken zipper suitcase. He looked up, and his heart froze. Stepping out from the VIP lounge was General Ariana Cole. Her uniform gleamed, her stars shone bright, and she was surrounded by aides and security. Her eyes were as sharp as ever, but now carried the weight of supreme authority. Gregory's chest pounded. He stammered, "General Cole, I want to say I'm sorry, this time, truly." Ariana stopped. She studied him for a few seconds. In front of her was no longer the arrogant man who once dismissed her, but a broken figure, crushed by his own mistakes. She gave a small nod. Her voice was calm, yet each word etched into Gregory's mind. "Mr. Stone, that day you gave me the greatest gift." Gregory's eyes widened. His voice quivered. "A gift? I ruined everything. I only brought trouble, doubt." Ariana looked straight into his eyes, hers burning with unbreakable resolve. "You reminded me why I do all of this. Every time I save a life, train a pilot, or break a barrier, it is because of people like you, those who once dismissed me, who forced me to prove them wrong." Gregory lowered his head, tears streaming. "I lost everything. My company, my family, my name. I lost it all because of my arrogance." Ariana shook her head slightly, her voice soft but cutting to the bone. "No, you never truly had anything to lose. Privilege is not an achievement. Respect is not inherited. Skill is not appearance. You simply realized that truth too late." She turned and walked away with her entourage. Gregory stood alone, watching her figure disappear. In that moment he understood. Ariana's greatest revenge was not words or punishment, but her rise to brilliance while he sank into obscurity. In a televised interview, the host asked Ariana, "General Cole, what is the secret that allowed you to overcome doubt, prejudice, even hatred, to become the symbol you are today?" Ariana smiled gently, her gaze calm yet resolute. "A secret? Let them underestimate you. While they waste their time doubting, I spent that time becoming irreplaceable. Success is not just the sweetest revenge, it is the only revenge worth having." The studio erupted in applause. That night, in her private journal, Ariana wrote, "In the storm, I learned one thing. Light never asks darkness for permission to shine. It simply burns. And when we dare to stand, we become the light for others." That story spread, crossing borders, igniting inspiration in millions who had once been dismissed or pushed aside. Ariana Cole, once ridiculed in an economy seat, now only needed a few words to change the world. While they underestimate us, let us turn that very time into the strength that ensures they will never forget. That night in the sky, a woman who had been underestimated did what no one believed possible. Ariana Cole not only landed a massive Boeing 747 in the heart of a storm, she also brought down prejudice, arrogance, and the illusion of privilege. This story is not just about a flight for survival. It is proof that true strength does not lie in your seat number, your skin color, or your business card, but in your ability to stand tall when the world wants to see you fall. Gregory Stone lost everything because he believed that power and money could replace real ability. But Ariana proved that success is not about revenge. It is about turning contempt into motivation and doubt into legacy. And now, a question for you, the one watching this video. Have you ever been underestimated, dismissed simply because of your appearance or your background? And how did you prove them wrong? Share your story in the comments below. If you believe that true ability does not need permission to shine, hit the like button to spread this message. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the journeys ahead, where justice, courage, and truth will always find a runway to land.